Okay, and welcome to your first answer video for your assignments. So in this video, I'm going to go through your first assignment and explain each of the questions, and then I would like you to go through and watch it and try and have another go at the questions just in your own notebooks for your own revision. Okay, it'll be really good for you. Right, so let's get started then. The first question we have is, write these numbers in order of size, start with the smallest. Now, from what I can tell, most of you got this right, which is great. So let's just quickly go through how we would do this. So obviously, you've just got to write these numbers from smallest to biggest. So we have 25, we have 52, 55, 102, and 120. Okay? So remember, this is 102, and this is 120. All right? Okay, B says to write these numbers in order of size. Now, when we're looking at negatives, negatives are smaller than 0. Okay, negative numbers are smaller than 0. Okay, so that means that also, the further negative you go, the colder it is. So think of it as in terms of temperature. -5 is colder than -2, and -2 is colder than 0. Okay, so you must remember that -5 is the coldest. Then we have -2, then 0, then 3, then 6. Okay. C asks you to write these numbers in order of size as well, but these are decimals. Now, again, be very careful. You could probably write these as percentages or as money. So remember, this would kind of like be 60%. This would be 6%. This would be 60.3%. And this would be 63.3%. And this would just be 63%. So all I've done there is times them all by 100 to put them into a percentage. There is an extra video on that if you want to watch how to do it. Okay, so all I've done is move the decimal point 2 places. Moved decimal 2 places, which basically just means that we times by 100. So now I've got them in that order, I can see which ones are smaller. So I've got 6% is the smallest, so that must go there. And then the next one is 60, so 0.6. And then 60.3. And as you can see, I'm writing in the actual number. I'm not writing in my percentage version. Then 63%, and then 63.3. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. All right. Next one then. Write 2,148 to the nearest 100. Well, it's 2,148. 48 is closer to 100 than 200. So 2,100 would be your answer. Again, most of you got all of these beginning ones correctly. I'm just going through them because, it's necessary. Write the number 7,025 in figures. So you have 7,000, 0 tens, and 25. Okay, 0 hundreds rather. Thousands, hundreds, tens, units. Right, write the number 9,450 in words. Okay. So 9,000, it sounds fine because I'm saying it. 9,450. Okay. Now it says to write the number 28.75 to the nearest whole number. Some of you are putting 30, but it's not actually closer to 30. It's 28.7, which means it's closer to 29. Nearest whole number. If I rounded to 30, you'd be rounded to the nearest 10. Then it says to write the number 7,380 to the nearest 1,000. Again, so this is your thousands column. Is that closer to 7,000 or 8,000? It's closer to 7,000. So 7,000 would be our answer because that is a 3. Remember, 5 or above, we round up. 4 or below, we round down. Okay, so the next question says that the table shows the heights of 6 mountains. Write down the name of the highest of these mountains. Some people did put this one, but it's actually this one. Look, 8,500, 8,400. So I don't know how to pronounce that, but that's your answer. LHOTSE. Okay, that's your answer. Then it says, write the number 8,188 to the nearest 100. 8,188. Well, because of this is being an 8, we'd have to round that to 1,200. Write the number 7,428 in words. So again, 7,428. Feel free to skip through the video and look at the questions that you did get wrong. You don't have to watch the whole thing if you got all of these right. Okay, it says that the mountain K3 is 8,051 meters high. Write the number 8,051 in figures. So we've got 8,000, we've got no hundreds, and then we've got 5 tens and 1 unit, 8,051. The table shows the temperature every 4 hours on one day in December. Write down the time with the lowest temperature. So the lowest temperature, remember, is the one with the largest minus number, which is this one. But it says the time, so that's 6 a.m. People kept putting -4, but it's asking for the time, 6 a.m. Okay. Work out the difference between the temperature at 2 p.m. and the temperature at 6 p.m. Well, at 2 p.m. it's 8 degrees, and at 6 p.m. it's 5 degrees. So it's gone down by 3 degrees. So the difference in the temperature would just be 3 degrees. It then says that between 10 p.m. and midnight, the temperature goes down by 5 degrees. Work out the temperature at midnight. So at 10 p.m., it's actually -1 degree. Okay, so 10 p.m. -1 degree. And it says it goes down by 5 degrees. It goes lower. So that's like -1, -5, sorry. -1, -5, okay? So -1, -5 altogether is -6 degrees, okay? Because that's how far the temperature's gone down. Okay, question 6. Write down 4.4354 correct to 2 decimal places. 2 decimal places means 2 places after the decimal point. So that means we need to stop our number there. But we also need to look at this number to decide whether we say it's 4.43 or 4.44. Because this is a 5 or above, it means we need to round this number. So our answer would actually be 4.44 to 2 decimal places. Okay? Please watch the video again on decimal places if you're not entirely sure how to do that. Question 7 says to write 5,643 to the nearest 100. Here's our hundreds column. Is it closer to 600 or 700? It's closer to 600, so our answer would be 5,600. Write 197,768 to the nearest 1,000. Couldn't talk. So this is our 1,000 here, this 7. Okay, 7,768. And we need to decide if that's closer to 7,000 or 8,000. So if we look at this, this is a 7. That's 5 or above, which means that needs to round up. So it's 198,000. Okay. Everything else just becomes zeros because you round it to the nearest 1,000. Okay, so with this one, so 28,569 people watch a football match. Write 28,569 to the nearest 100. So here is our hundreds column. So it would be 28,000, and then is this closer to 500 or 600? It's actually closer to 600. Write down the value of the 2 in this number. Well, this number is 28569. So that is 28,569. So that must be 20,000 because it's 28,000. It then says 5,619 of the 28,569 people are female. Work out the number of males. Now, you only get 1 mark for this question, and it probably will come up on the non-calculator paper. So what we need to do is 28,569 take away 5,619. So the first thing we're going to do is 9 take away 9. That's not a very good colour. 9 take away 9, which is 0. 6 take away 1 is 5. Now we can't do 5 take away 6 here because 5 is smaller. So I'm going to borrow 1 from this 8 and turn it into a 7. And the 1 that I borrowed, or the 10 should I say, will go on to the 5 to create a 15. Now 15 take away 6 is 9. Then we can do 7 take away 5, which is 2. And 2 take away nothing is 2. So your answer will be 22,950. Okay. Then it says for question 9 to work out the number that is halfway between 2.9 and 3.6. One of the best ways to work out the middle of a number without going wrong is to add them together. So 2.9 plus 3.6. And the easiest way you could do that is probably do 2 plus 3, which is 5. And then it's like 0.9 plus 0.6. But 0.9 plus 0.6 is like saying 90p add 60p. Okay, 90p add 60p is £1.50. So we just write it as 1.5. So altogether there, we've got 6.5. So if it came up on a non-calculator paper, that's a good way of adding. So you've added them together to give you 6.5. But it wants to know what's halfway between. So we do 6.5 divided by 2. So half of 6 is 3. And half of 0.5 or half of 50p is 25p. So that's your middle. So 3.25 will be your answer. Okay, so if you get stuck, add them together, divide by 2. Okay. So question 10. A lot of people did struggle on question 10, but it's not too difficult. Okay, so with question 10, it says that Sally uses her van to deliver boxes of shopping. To deliver boxes to shops. She can put a maximum weight of 450 kg in the van. Okay. Sally has to deliver 50 boxes to a shop. Each box has a weight of 30 kilograms. Work out the least number of times Sally has to drive to the shop to deliver all 50 boxes. You must show your working. Okay, so with this one, again, a lot of people were getting a bit confused. I think they were making it a bit harder than it had to be. So I just want to go through it step by step and make sure that you're understanding it. So it says that she can put a maximum of 450 kilograms in the van. And Sally has to deliver 50 boxes, and each box weighs 30 kgs. So each box is 30 kg, and she's got 50 of them. Okay. Well, so I'm going to times that together to work out how much weight I've got in total. So 3 times 5 is 15, and then I've got 2 zeros. So 1,500 kg altogether. Okay. So it then says that she can only put 450 kilograms in her van at a time. So instead of actually doing a division question, if this comes up on the non-calculator paper, I would do it like this. Trip 1. She can use 450 kg. Trip 2, okay, so her first trip would have been 450, so by her second trip, she'd have done 900 kg. Okay, by her third trip altogether, if I add another 450 on, it will give me 1,350 kgs altogether. So on trip 4, that means I can do a maximum of 1,800 kg. So this is too little, so I wouldn't be able to do it in 3, which means I would have to do 4, even though I'd have a smaller amount in my van at the 4th time. So it would be 4 trips in total. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, question 11, I think there was a mistake on these, so I do apologise. I'm going to ignore those ones. Don't worry, I've not calculated them into your actual work, your answers and your final grade. So, question 12. Jane writes down the following. 3.4 times 5.3 equals 180.2. And it says, without doing the exact calculation, explain why Jane's answer cannot be correct. So some of you did do the exact calculation, which is not what I wanted to see. So what I want to see really is that actually, think about it, use your common sense. That 3.4 and 5.3. 3.4 is quite close to 3 and 5.3 is quite close to 5. So if I do 3 times 5, it gives me 15. So even if I don't know the answer to 3.4 times 5.3, it cannot be 180.2. Okay, it's too big. Maybe 18.02 could have been the answer. All right, that would have been another point you could have said. Okay, so let's move on. So hopefully that's cleared up now. So for this question, again, we've done this in class, so I hope you, I hope you understand these. But what I'm going to do is put these for question 13 into percentages. So you've got 20% there, that's fine. 0.1, we should know that's 10% by now. 65% is fine. 0.7, again, you should know that's 70%. 12%, and then 0.02 is 2%. Okay, so now I know which is the smallest because they're all in the same form. 0.02 is my smallest because it's 2%. 0.1 because it's 10%. Then 12%. Then 20%. Then 65%. And then 0.7. So even though I've turned them all into a percentage to help me, I've written them in the right order for my answer. I've written them in the right way for my answer. Don't write percentages as your answers because that wasn't the question and you will get marked down. Okay? Okay, so question 14. What is 23 times 56? So with this one, I'm going to use the lattice method just because it's my favourite. You can use whichever method you feel comfortable with as long as you're getting the answers right. So 23 times 56. Okay. Don't forget I need to put my diagonal lines in when I'm doing this method. I'm going to use a different colour. And now what I'm going to do is times across my lattice. So 5 times 2 is 10, which looks like that. 5 times 3 is 15. And then we'll go 6 times 2 is 12. And 6 times 3 is 18. And then what we need to do is just extend our lines down here so that we can add up. So underneath this diagonal we have 8. Underneath this diagonal 5, 6, 7, 8 as well. 1, 2, and then in this top one, 1. So your answer is 1,288. If you don't understand that method, that's fine. Please use whichever method you know how, as long as you are getting them right. Next is 1,832 divided by 4. 1,832 divided by 4. So all I'm going to do is, first of all, see how many... If I can't get 4 into 1, I must do it into 18. Okay, well, 4 times 4 is 16. So that's as high as I can go, so that must be 4. And there is 2 left over, so I'm going to put my 2 there to make 23. How many 4s into 23? Well, 4 times 5 is 20, which means there's a 3 left over. So I'll put it there. And then how many 4s into 32 is 8. So your answer would be 458. A lot of you did get those right, actually. I was really impressed. I hope you didn't just use a calculator. Okay, and then question 16, 5.24 divided by 0.4. Now, it's up to you. You could do 524 divided by 4 first, which I would recommend without a calculator. So take out your decimal points, basically. Get rid of them. All right. And then we would say, how many 4s go into 5? 1. Okay. And there's also a 1 left over. Okay. Because the 4 up to 5 is 1. How many 4s go into 12? 3. No remainders. How many 4s into 4? 1. So your answer here is 131. But our question actually has all of these decimals in. So a quick tip. If you have a 0 point in it, okay, a 0 point, it means we are going to move our decimal point that way. If it has like 0.24 or like a 5 in it, or a number at the beginning, should I say, I won't put it like that. So if I have a number here, 3 point something, okay, it tells me how many spaces I'm going to move that way, which I know sounds weird, but if we look at this one here, this 5.24, 5.24 shows that I will actually move my decimal 2 places in. 1, 2, because there's 2 here. Okay, so that would give us the answer 1.31. However, that's not quite right, because if we look at this one, we've got a 0 point, which means I've actually got to move my point back 1 more space. Okay, so they cancel each other out. So my actual answer would be 13.1. Okay. All right. So, question 17. So, these ones everybody did very well with. I'm hoping most of you got them right. So, minus 2 times 6. Well, 2 times 6 is 12. So, minus 2 times 6 must be minus 12. 3 times 4 is just 12. There's no negatives, so that's that. 9 times minus 2. Well, 9 times 2 is 18. So 9 times minus 2 must be minus 18. Okay, I hope you can see the pattern now. 5 times minus 8. 5 times 8 is 40. So 5 times minus 8 must be minus 40. Okay. Question 18. What is the value of 4 plus 2 times 3? Well, we have here 4 plus, and then 2 times 3 is 6. So I need to work out my brackets first. Don't forget your bid mass rules. 4 plus 6 is 10, so your answer would actually just be 10. Okay. Now for this next one, question 19, people did struggle on this. I think it was because you were copying and pasting into your platform. There's a reason I want you to use Google Docs, and the reason is because the mathematical terms don't copy and paste very well onto your platform. You can't see what I'm trying to get you to do, and this 2 squared seems to look like a 22, or 4 cubed looks like a 43. You can't really answer questions like that on your platform. Please try and use the Google Docs video. So here we've got quite a lot going on. We've got 2 squared, which I would do, that's 4. 2 squared, 2 times 2. Put your plus in. Okay, again, remember bid mass, let's write it down. Right, we've got no brackets. We've got indices, that's this one that I've just done. So I've done that there. I've got no division, but I have got some multiplication. So I'm going to do that. 4 times 3 is 12. And then I'm just going to write the minus 10 on the end. So now I've just got this add and take away sum, which is fine. So 4 plus 12 is 16. And then 16 take away 10 is 6. So just follow the bid mass rules and you will not get it wrong, okay? Right, again, a few of you did really well on these and a few not so great. I think you were just getting a bit confused with how it worked without a calculator. So 22 as a percentage of 50. We did this in class, remember? So it's 22 out of 50. We can write it like that. And what we want to do is try and get 100 on the bottom of your fraction. So we've got 50 on the bottom. Well, that's really easy then, because all I had to do was times by 2 to get 100. But I have to do the same to the top. So if I times that by 2, that gives me 44. And as soon as you've got this 100 on the bottom, you know it's a percentage. So it must be 44%. With this next one, it's the same kind of thing. 86 is a percentage of 200. So we can write it like that as a fraction. And all we need to do to this 200 is divide by 2, because that's how we'd get 100 on the bottom. So if we divide by 2 there, it would give me 43. So that's 43%. Okay. So question 22 is asking us for 150 as a percentage of 500. Well, if I've got 500, I want to try and get 100, so I can divide by 5, because that'll give me 100. 500 divided by 5, 100. So I need to do the same to the top. And 150 divided by 5 is 30, so that would be 30%. Okay, now people keep getting this one a bit wrong, I'm not sure why. 165 out of 241. Now, if you're going to do, so it's saying that Aaron gave £165 of his £241 to his girlfriend. Okay, what percentage is this? So there we would say, well, it's 165 out of a total of 241. Okay, which becomes 165 divided by 241. Now that will give us a decimal of 0.6846. So don't forget, all you need to do is times it by 100 to give you the percentage, which would be 68.46%. Okay, I hope that helped. All right, question 24, going on to completing the table then. So again, you should all know these by now. I'm not going to go into too much depth with these. 0.5, 50%. 1/4, 25%. You should know all of these. If you don't know them by now, please learn them. The only other thing I didn't put on was the dot here, the recurring dot. Okay. Now again, because this is 40%, you could say, right, well, it's 40 over 100. And if I cancel it down, it would give me 4 over 10 or 2 over 5, which is why this fraction is what it is, remember. We did cover that in class as well. 60%, 0.6 or 3/5. You must learn these, please. I do not want to keep going over these with you. These must be learned. Okay, moving on. So I would like you to go through this grid if you don't know them and learn them all. They are all to be learned off by heart. Okay, I cannot keep going over the simple fractions and stuff. These are the things you need to learn. Just read over them every day until you remember them. Right, so now we're moving on to some other trickier stuff, and I understand that this was tricky, and I'm going to explain it as best as I can. If you can't grasp it, don't panic. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to fail just because you don't know how to do indices. But I'm sure you will understand it once I'm finished. So it's asking us to simplify the following. Now, this is actually part of the higher paper as well. I just maybe gave you something a little bit too tricky. But let's just go through it. So 4 to the power of minus 2, okay, what we do with that is exactly the same as if we put 1 over 4 squared. Okay, so it means the same. So you're going to get rid of this negative by putting the 1 over it. And then we'll just keep the 4 squared itself. So that will actually give us 1 over, and then 4 squared is 16. And that's your answer. Okay, so if there's a minus, you just take it out by putting a fraction over it. So this one, again, you've got a minus, so it'll be 1 over. And then we've got 3 squared. So 3 squared is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. So your answer would be 1/9. Some of you got something similar, and I really appreciated that you'd used your initiative. That was fantastic. So just go over these again now just to get those few things perfect. Again, here we've got a minus. So this would be 1 over 7 cubed, which is 1 over 7 times 7 times 7, which is actually 1 over 343. So I would have allowed you to use your calculator on that one, I think. Right, so that's those three. So when we've got negatives, okay, negatives in the power, you can put the fraction above it, okay? So, negative powers, turn them into a fraction. So if I go example 4 to the power of minus 2 is equal to 1 over 4 squared. Okay, so that's like your little tip from that question. All right, so that's those three. Now going on to these next ones, these were kind of fractional powers. I think there was only 4 or 5 of those. Okay, these ones definitely you need to know. So if I have a number to the power of a half, so if I had, I'm going to say a to the power of a half, it's the same as saying the square root of a. Okay, so here you've got 4 to the power of a half. It's exactly the same as saying the square root of 4. Okay, technically, because it's a half or a 2, you could write a little 2 there, okay, if you wanted, okay, so that just means that a times a, remember, okay, or not a times a rather, but what do you times together to get a, okay, so this one will be 2 times 2, all right, what do you times together to get 4? So if 4 to the power of a half is the same as the square root of 4, well, the square root of 4 is 2, it must be 2 because 2 times 2 is 4, okay. With this one, you've got 27 to the power of a third. Well, just like a number to the power of a half is the square root, this is saying that a number to the power of a third is the same as the cube root. Okay, so this is saying what is the cube root of 27? The cube root is when it's times in 3 times. So, for example, the cube root of 27 would actually be 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Okay, so that would be your answer for that one. Then this one here, 49 to the power of a half. Well, again, that's just the square root of 49, which is 7, because 7 times 7 is 49. Okay. 64 to the power of a third. Again, it is the cube root of 64. And the answer is 4. Because 4 times 4 times 4 equals 64. Okay. And then the last one to the power of a half, which means it's just the square root of 81, which is 9. You should know all your square numbers anyway. Okay, if you don't learn them. Now then, the next ones were the stretching challenge questions, so I will explain these to you. However, just going back to these for you a minute, you've just got to remember that this is the same, and this is the same. Okay, so 4 to the power of the half is the same as the square root of 4. 27 to the power of a third is the same as the cube root of 27. 49 to the power of a half is the square root of 49. 64 to the power of a third is the cube root of 64. And 81 to the power of a half is the square root of 81. Okay. So, the higher ones now. Still fractional powers. So, this one is saying 8 to the power of 2/3. So, just like the 3 on the bottom of 8 to the power of 1/3 meant the cube root, you are still going to have to do the cube root. So, this actually means the cube root of 8, all squared. Okay. Because you've got the little 3 at the bottom there, which is what that is, and the little 2 at the top there, which is what that is. Okay? So, the cube root of 8, I'm just going to write this over here. The cube root of 8 is basically what do you times together 3 times to get 8? And that's 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So my answer is 2. But don't forget then, we've still got to square that. So 2 times 2 is 4, and your answer would be 4. For the next one, it's saying you've got 32 to the power of 3/5. Well, this time that means the 5th root of 32, because of the 5 cubed. The 5th root of 32 means, what do I multiply together 5 times to get 32? The answer is actually 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. So the answer is 2, but we must cube it because of this cubed here. And that's 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So your answer would be 8. So then on this next one, you've got 4 and 3/2. So that is the square root of 4 cubed. Well, the square of 4 is 2, isn't it? 2 times 2 is 4. And then if we cube that, because of this 3, it's 2 times 2 times 2, which again is 8. Okay? And then the last one of these is 27 to the power of 2/3, which is the cube root of 27 squared. The cube root of 27 is 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. And then we need to square it because of this little 2. Well, that's 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, so those were the higher questions. If you did well on those, or you think you would like to do a bit more of the higher stuff, just let me know, send me an email, and we'll see what else we can give you. Can't promise that you'll do the higher exam. That's something you need to talk to your tutors about. Okay, so question 28 then. Now, people did struggle with these, so let's just go through them in more detail. So, express these numbers as a product of their prime factors. So, all that means is you've got to just quickly think of two numbers that make 100 and keep dividing down until you can't go any further. Okay? So, 100 can be split into 50 and 2 if you want, because 50 times 2 is 100. Or you could have split it into 10 times 10, because that's also 100. We'll stick with the 50 and the 2. So 50 times 2 is 100. So 2 is a prime number. So I'm going to leave that there because that's actually what we're doing. 50 can be split into 25 and 2, another prime number. Okay, so 25 times 2 is 50. And then finally 25, or 5 times 5 is 25. So there's all my prime numbers. So my answer would look like this because I write it down as a multiplication. 2 times 2 times 5 times 5. But 2 times 2 is actually 2 squared, and 5 times 5 is actually 5 squared. So that would be your final answer. Okay. Moving on to, so here what you've done is written it in index form. Okay, and that's what is expected of you in the exam. 42 then. 42 can be split into, well, it could be split into 6 and 7. Or it can even be split into 21 and 2. Most people like to divide by 2 because they find it easier. So 21 times 2 would make 42. So I've just halved it. And then 21, well, 3 times 7 is 21. And that's all that makes 21. So our answer will be 2 times 3 times 7. And that's all you can do. You can't write that any other way. 24. Let's split 24 up. 12 and 2, half it. 6 and 2, 2 and 3. So can you see what I'm doing? I'm just halving 24. So 24 divided by 2 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So here you've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 as your primes. Well, you've got 3 lots of 2 being multiplied together there. So we write it as 2 cubed. And then put just the times 3 on the end. So that would be your answer. 360. Well, this can be divided into 36 and 10. Okay, so 36 divided by 10. Sorry, 360 divided by 10 is 36. Right, 10 divided by 2 is 5. Both prime, can leave them like that. 36 divided by 6, oops, sorry, that's not a prime. 36 divided by 6 is 6. And then we need to split these up a bit more because they're not primes yet. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, so we have got 1, 2, 3 2s, 2 3s, and a 5. 3 2s, 3 2s is 2 cubed, 3 squared times 5. Okay, that'd be your answer. All right, so the next one. A number is written as a product of its prime factors as 2 times 3 squared times 5. Work out the number. Okay, well, if we're going to work out this number, all we need to do is do this calculation here. So 2 times 3 squared times 5. Well, that's 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. So it just depends on how you're going to work that out without a calculator. What did I do? Yeah, so 3 times 5 is 15. and 2 times 3 is 6. And then 6 times 15, you could probably do that quite easily, because 3 times 15 is 45. So double that, it's 90. All right, so your answer would be 90. Okay, so next, find the highest common factor of 12 and 20. Now, people did get a little bit confused on these, but what we really need to do is write down all of the factors of 12 and all of the factors of 20. Factors go inside a number. Okay, they can be divided by those numbers, okay? So, for example, a factor of 12 would be 6 or 3 or 4 because they go inside. So, the way we do this is I would say, right, does 1 go into 12? Yes, because 1 times 12 is 12. Does 2 go into 12? Yes, because 2 times 6 is 12. Does 3 go into 12? Yes, because 3 times 4 is 12. Does 5 go into 12? No. Does 6 go into 12? Yes, but we've already done it here. So we've done. Okay, we've overlapped, which means we've finished. They're all your factors of 12. Let's do the factors of 20 now. Does 1 go into 20? Yes. 1 times 20 is 20. Does 2 go into 20? Yes. 2 times 10 is 20. Does 3 go into 20? No. Does 4 go into 20? Yes. 4 times 5 is 20. Does 5 go into 20? Yes, but I've already done it. So I've done them all. I've got all of my factors of 20. Now, all I need to do is decide which one is the biggest in both lists. So, the biggest one in both lists is 4. So, the highest common factor is 4. Okay? And that's it for the highest common factor. The next one says what's the highest common factor of 16 and 24. So, again, does 1 go into 16? Yes, 1 times 16. 2 times 8 is 16. Does 3 go into 16? No. 4 times 4 is 16. So we've technically repeated because it's come up twice, because 4 times 4. So you've got all your factors of 16. And then we'll do the factors of 24. 1 goes into 24, so 1 times 24. 2 times 12 is 24. Does 3 go into 24? Yes, 3 times 8 is 24. Does 4 go into 24? Yes, 4 times 6 is 24. Does 5 go into 24? No. Does 6 go into 24? Yes, but we've already got it. So there are all your factors of 24. Your highest common factor is the number in both lists that is the highest, and we have 8. Okay, great. So all we need to do now is the next one, and it says, what is the lowest common multiple of 7 and 9? So what I would do here is just write down some of my 7 times tables. So if you don't know them, please learn them, or you'd have to count really quick. Okay. So I'm just going to write down my 7 times tables up to about 70, just because I'm thinking about the 9 times table and whether I can see a number in there. So now I'm going to write down the 9 times tables. 9, 18, 27, 36. Okay, you might have noticed then. Now, first of all, I say lowest common multiple. I didn't really explain that very well, did I? Lowest common multiple is your multiplication table. So I've written your times table. Okay, so 7 times table and your 9 times table. Because we're not doing highest common factor anymore. We're doing lowest common multiple this time. So that's why I've written out those. So there's your multiplication tables for your 7s and for your 9s. The lowest common multiple is the lowest number that comes up in both lists. And it's actually 63. It's the lowest number that comes up in both. Okay? Whereas in this one, it's the highest. All right. Okay, so question 32 then. We're almost done. Now, people did find these quite tricky as well, but just take your time. Now, it says here that find the lowest common multiple and the highest common factor of 420 and 132. And it says to use a Venn diagram, which we didn't get a chance to do in class. There was so much we didn't get time to do. So what you would need to do, first of all, is do the prime factors for both of these numbers, okay? Because this is going to be, they're quite big, so it's quicker to do it this way. So we are going to divide 420 into 42 and 10, because 420 divided by 10 is 42. And then 10 divided by 2 is 5, and they're both in their factors. So 42 divided by 7 is 6, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. And I've got all my primes now, okay? So I'm just going to write that here, 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 7, okay? I haven't written in index form yet, I'll do that later. 132. Right, 132 is an odd number. Well, it's not, it's an even number, but it's a weird number. So I'm going to divide it by 2. And 132 divided by 2 is 66. And 66 divided by 6 is 11, which is a prime. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. So they're your primes. So you've got 2 times 2 times 3 times 11. All right, so you've got your diagrams there, your prime factor decomposition diagrams, okay? Now, what you've got to do now is the Venn diagram. So how this works is you will have, I'll do it in red, you will have just 2 circles, one for 420 and one for 132. And what we need to do is in the middle, in that intersection, is the numbers that are in both 420 and 132. So I've got a 2 there and a 2 there, which means I can put a 2. I've got another 2 there and another 2 there, so I can put another 2. And I've got a 3 there and a 3 there, so I can put a 3 there. So those are the numbers that are in both groups, okay, both numbers. Then in 420, I've got 5 and 7, which are only in 420. And I've got 11 that's only in 132. So now I've done my Venn diagram, all you need to remember is that to find the highest common factor, you multiply the numbers. Hang on. You multiply the numbers in the intersection. Which is this bit. 2 times 2 times 3. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so that's your highest common factor. All right. Then for your lowest common multiple, which I'm going to do in like purple, just because. Lowest common multiple, that means that you multiply all the numbers in the diagram. Multiply all numbers in the diagram together. Okay, in the diagram, not from these lists up here, not from those. Okay, I'm going to rub those arrows out for that. Okay, in the diagram, so all of the numbers now. Okay, which would leave you with 5 times 7 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 11, which actually gives us 4,620. Okay, and that would be your lowest common multiple. Okay. Now, those are tricky questions. I am going to do the final one. Okay. So, as you can see, those are the 2 answers for that question. All right. Now, I'm going to do the final one. Even though it was tricky, I think it would benefit you. So, for this third one, it is asking you to find the highest common factor and lowest common multiple of 32, 152, and 600. And because you've got all those 3 numbers and they're quite big, I would recommend that you do this the same way we've just done. So you've got 32, 152, and 600. If I write 32 as a in their prime factors, I would divide by 2, I think, first. So 32 divided by 2 is 16. And then 16 divided by 2 is 8. Oops. Is 8. And then 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we end up with 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 for that one. For 152, I'm going to split that. So divide that by 2 gives me 76. Divide that by 4 gives me 19. 19 is a prime. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 19. And finally, 600, we have 100 divided by 100 gives me 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 100 divided by 2 is 50. 50 divided by 2 is 25. 25 divided by 5 is 5. So here we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. Right, so now you've done all of those, you want the Venn diagram. So I'm going to have to draw this down here. The Venn diagram now is a little bit tricky. So I'm just going to move that up there because I don't actually need it all. So with the Venn diagram then, I need 3 circles now. I'm going to have to draw it quite big. 1, 2, 3. Okay. This one would be 32. This one would be 152, and this one would be 600. Okay. So we've got a 2, a 2, and a 2. So I can put that in there. 2, 2, 2. I can put that in there. 2, 2, 2. I can put that in there. So you're putting all the 2's inside the middle, the intersection, because they're all in all of them. Okay, so now we've run out of 2's on this one, so I can't put any more 2's in. Okay, even though I've got 2's left in the others. Okay, I can't do that. So in 32, I'm left with just 2 2's there. Okay, just there and there. And 152, I'm just left with 19. And then with 600, I'm left with 3, 5, and 5. Okay. So to find the highest common factor then, we do the intersection, which is this bit. 2 times 2 times 2, which equals 8. Done. Lowest common multiple actually equals everything. So this, 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 and this, all of it. I'll do that in fact, I'll do that in green. So all of this, so you've got 2 plus 2 plus 2, it's not plus 2 times, sorry. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, so I've done that, and that. Times 3 times 5 times 5 times 19. And all of that together equals 45,600 as your lowest common multiple. That's hard work, wasn't it? So it is quite long-winded, that one. It's very rare that you'll probably get that on your foundation paper. But I would suggest you be prepared. Oops. So the last, I think there's like 2 questions to go. Yeah, the last 2 questions, nice and easy, is if 26 times 562 equals 14,612, what is the value of 26 times 56.2? So if you look at this question here, we can tell the only difference from this question and this question is that there is a decimal place here, 1 place in, which means our answer will be exactly the same as their answer, except with 1 decimal place in. So there you go. Your answer will be 1,461.2. And again, this one, the only difference between this question is the 1 decimal place in there. 1 decimal place in. So our answer will be exactly the same, except with 1 decimal place back. Okay, must be 1 decimal place back. All right. Okay. So I noticed that a lot of you did answer these questions as well. I've been giving you some personal feedback on those. I hope the answer video, I understand it was quick. Please pause it in areas where you need to. Watch it as many times as you like. There is a lot of recording to be done, so yeah, I do apologise. But anyway, so good luck with that. I really would like you to do some revision. So go through the questions that you didn't understand, have another go at them, keep the video on in the background and so on. Okay, well done, and I'll hopefully see you soon.